Listen. Knowledge is power, always.
Most people in the world don't read. That's just the way it is. It's sad, but the majority of people, especially in these countries, are encouraged not to read. So if you're reading day in, day out on a daily basis, your mind will become so sharp in a particular way that you'll create opportunities for yourself, that you'll find jobs. That I'm not saying it's just read for reading's sake. I'm saying it because I know in my own life that if you are educated to a certain level, you can move in certain circles, and it don't even matter if you got a picky head. My godfather made education sexy to me. It made it manly. Not that I saw my godfather as a man's man, big, trapping, strong African Caribbean male, but yet he is probably to this day still the most intelligent person I've ever met. I mean, this is a guy that chews quantum physics for fun. Like, it's not like just on a Sunday because it's Sunday afternoon he might read some Max Planck or Niels Bohr. You know what I mean? But he's man them. So I never grew up with any of that being educated belongs to rich white people, essentially, which is what a lot of young African Caribbean boys, they have this complex that somehow they're trying to be something, because they don't know their history. If they knew their history, they'd know that the Library of Timbuktu has 750,000 books still surviving from 1,000 years ago. There weren't too many books in England 1,000 years ago. So the idea that British people invented writing or invented lyricism, or it belongs to one group of human beings, when in fact it is a human form of expression that all groups of human beings have pioneered in some way. My message to young people would actually be, you know what, turn off the TV and read a book. Books are assets because you're investing in your brain, which is becoming a tool of qualification, right? But academia is creative. It's how creative you make it. I'm self-educated. I never went to uni, so I can't. And I never went to uni because of my experience in school. I didn't like the experience of being educated from a particular person's point of view in a particular way. So I understand how unis can be restrictive. But what I'd say to people is, academia is creative. It's only the way it's marketed. If being a good mathematician was going to get you bare girls, you best believe everyone would be good at maths. Yeah. That's the truth. If girl was like, yo, what? My man's cold at maths. Yo, you know what I mean? The way it's like he's got a Benz. If it was, he can design a Benz, think about how different our community would be. If the main thing people was attracted to was, wow, my man designs cars. Not he buys cars, he designs cars. Not he's got a nice house, he designs houses. And that's the mentality shift that is needed. Vice versa. It's like, that's what changes the productivity. So I think we're marketing that academia is uncool. When in reality, you look at a country like Japan, after World War II, struggling country, trying to recover after having nuclear bombs dropped on it. Look at it today. What got it there? Academia. You know, from what I understand, it extended the school day. People were made to work particular hours, but they ain't got no resources in Japan. There's not gold or coltan or diamonds in Japan, but look how rich they are. Why? Because of discipline and education. And so if we're being told that discipline and education is uncool, it's because someone wants us to stay in the position that we're in. You understand? If we're being told that maths is uncreative, but in our countries of origin, you've got some of the sickest mathematicians in the world, we have to ask, why is it we come here and apparently we're not good at maths? Do you know what I mean? Apparently we're not good at science. You understand? Like, my brethren right here, his brother works for NASA. I'm probably not supposed to say that. I'm not whatever, innit? Like, I'm saying it's like, there's a lot of people from particular backgrounds in scientific institutions that you're not really hearing about. You're not being made aware of. You know, the inventions, particularly of African Caribbean people, their contributions to major scientific inventions of the 20th century, from the traffic light to the light bulb, to the lubricator cup in the car, to the way that agriculture is synthesized with someone like George Washington Carver. So if you just were made aware that they even had a history in this thing, and they've been contributing for a long time to scientific advances, they would see themselves as scientists, not as rappers and singers and all that only. You understand? But we've been made to think like, no, we're creative people, dance, we're not into all that academic shit. Well, yes you are. Because if you're not into that, you're going to be at the shit stall of humanity forever. Because the people who run the world are the people that are good at all that academic shit. Right? That's not based on who can dance best or who can rap best. Who's got power is based on who can understand symbols, writing, reading, mathematics. Those things are foundation. And anyone who's trying to tell you different is just mugging you off, as far as I'm concerned. What if we start placing value or identity on knowing your history? Start saying, yo, you're not real, you don't even know your history, you're an idiot. Exactly. Imagine that becomes the stigma, whereas now the stigma is you ain't got the new Jordans. Imagine the stigma is, but you don't even read.
It's so
you're a waste, man, you don't even read. But I'm saying when I was growing up, that's what I saw. I saw a bunch of elder militant black scholars particularly, you know, my uncles, etc. And that was the narrative. It was like, who was the cleverest? And these were men you wanted to be like. They were physical dudes. And so if we can bring that back where people start running you if you don't know certain things overnight, where women find attractive, you know, which they do. Let's not act like it's hard to get girls if you're clever, because it's clearly not. What I'm saying is, right, if that becomes what's the fashionable thing, we'll change this country and change the world. How they keep us. That's how they keep us, by making us think stupidity is cool, you know what I mean? Because of my background, I had a strength of character to think that being dumb was dumb.
Yeah.
I never ever thought being dumb was in any way cool. Make intelligence sexy. That's ultimately what it boils down to. You know, the reason why the particular groups in the world are where they are today. Let's take China, for example. You know, it's because China's made Chinese culture sexy to Chinese people. There's a reason to be Chinese right now and to look back at Lao Tzu or the Tao Te Ching or, the Tao Te Ching of Lao Tzu or the Water Margin, or any of these texts that are the foundational basis for a Chinese worldview. They've made it sexy again. It's cool to go back into your culture and your history and to reinterpret that to create modern Chinese power. Well, we have to make our history and culture sexy and normal and okay and not appear radical. I mean, what the hell does that mean? The idea that it's radical for a people to know, or that they're Afrocentric, you know, because they know something about African history is completely absurd. You know, Greece, look how many thousands of miles away from England Greece is. Still, English universities have no problem teaching people that Plato and Socrates are their intellectual ancestors, right? But they don't. English, Anglo-Saxon people are not descended from Greeks. But still, they feel that within that European conversation, that's their intellectual ancestors. Well, why is it absurd then for people of African heritage to look back to the texts of Ife or the Book of the Dead or Nubia or the whole kingdoms of the Nile or the Mandingo Empire, you know, for our intellectual inspiration? There's nothing absurd about that at all. It's perfectly healthy and normal. And anyone who's an intelligent person or a fair person would say that's a normal, intelligent thing for a group of people to do.
Enough of our own people can't be bothered to read that they actually believed that we were swinging from trees. They don't know the Kingdom of Congo had embassies in Italy 500 years ago. Literally ain't heard of St. Maurice nor Septimus Severus. They ain't studying the past because they think it's irrelevant and attempt to pretending ancient Egyptians weren't African. Nothing more than pseudo-intellectual lies. They obviously ain't read what Aristotle and Herodotus said about people that they saw for their own eyes. And Egypt's been invaded since the fall of the pharaohs. Not once, not twice, but many, many times. And nobody wants to explain why so many statues are missing noses. Even when them statues made of granite, it ain't one people alone mistaught about themselves. We live on Celtic land, but don't learn about the Celts. The same Irish people you characterize as stupid during the Dark Ages, some of the most educated living in Europe. And did you learn the numbers you count with every day was invented by Indian people? I bet you didn't. Or how many million Indians fought for Britain in both world wars? Still you got the cheek to call them immigrants. We don't learn about the Moors, of course. For some that knowledge dangerous. Is it a problem, the impact they had on the Renaissance? When people take power over another group, we minimize their achievements so we can make it feel true. So if you think Columbus was first to sail ocean blue, you probably believe Elvis invented rock and roll too.
Our structure fears a particular group of people and knows that this particular group of people represents change, whether that be average working class poor people, whether it be African Caribbean people, whether it be women, whoever it is. And so to me, the actions that are being taken and people's reaction to that will inevitably lead to change. But us not knowing history means that we think nothing's changed.
For me, I think that we spend far too much time putting young people down and not actually
encouraging them.
But also, we act like we really want them to do well. We don't. Our society is based on some people doing well and others not. That's how our society works. You know, it's a classist society. We have a structure. What's going to happen if every kid in, you know, Moss Side, you know, or the Gorbals, you know, starts thinking they can be an astrophysicist? It will mess up the whole damn country. The whole way it works will have to be reevaluated. So we act like we really want them to do well. No, we don't. It's not. Our society is based on a few individuals from that background doing well, you know, like me. So they want to look at me and say, look, Carla did it. It works. No, it doesn't. A sister said to me once, if 100 people smoke 40 cigarettes a day, and 95 of them get cancer and 5 of them don't, it don't prove that cigarettes don't cause cancer. It proves you was lucky. And that's how I feel, really, if I think about my upbringing. Me being where I am today doesn't prove that a particular type of upbringing doesn't hold you back. It proves that I got lucky, nothing else. Because I know people just as smart as me who are not here today. So
I never ever had this idea that being smart made me less of a man, which I know a lot of young boys believe.
We're brilliant, beautiful, intelligent people. We need to study our history and realise, hold on a minute, you know, if we're looking at what our ancestors did, for example, everyone in the Mandingo Empire couldn't be a griot. You needed a scientist, you needed mathematicians, you needed architects.
it's amazing how much those books can educate you and how much you can learn from those words in those books.
But we don't realise the extent to which even studying, if you're doing the right study, will naturally, you'll create opportunities for yourself. So that shows you what a little bit of knowledge does. It literally changes who you are.
Wow. Knowledge is power.
It's like gym. You know, as people read, and I've had this with people, they'll read one book and be like, oh, but I don't like reading. But like the first time you go gym, what happens? It hurts. If you ain't been gymming all a year, even if you're a gym man and you go dump some weights, what happens? Your chest is paining you, you know what I mean? You're all sore because you're out of practice. But the more you get back into it, and it starts to feel good. And it's the same with reading. Reading ain't no different. It's a discipline. I fell out of love with reading like in my early 20s, like 19, 20. Didn't really read for like a year and a half really. Now I read every day, every single day. I get up in the morning, I read before I go to bed. And so now it's just second nature. Yeah, practice. And that's what we need. There's so many competing factors. We have the way women are viewed in society. We have the way working class people are viewed. We have the marketing of materialism. We have institutional racism and classism and sexism and all these competing factors put in a pot, and we have an education system set up, to me, more aimed at keeping people in their place than encouraging every individual human being to reach their fullest potential. We have a legal system that accepts by its own admission that it's institutionally racist from the bottom to the top, you know, and I would say classist. So all of those factors come together to create the nihilistic kind of, well, we can't do anything to change it mentality that we see existing. But to me, when I work with young people, I don't see that. I see brilliance everywhere, from prisons to private schools. When I work with young people, because I walk in a room expecting brilliance, I think that we don't nurture our young people's greatness. Young people in this country have the potential to be as great as young people anywhere else in the world.
The question is, can we break the cycle? Because what do they fear more than a working class brown mayor with a brain? When our energy is harnessed, everything changed. Look at Pac, look at Marley, look at Hendrix, look at Garvey. This is the potential that is wasted on a daily basis. A racist, classist world that we live in. Still we coming for nothing and we educate millions. I see why it scares you. It's like, how dare you overcome obstacles that we have been careful to place in your way every step of the way. In this so-called democracy where kids get sprayed, blacks and the Asians, Turks and the Chavs, crowded in council flats, living like ants. And who's more confused than so-called white trash, talking this madness but they want their country back? It never was yours. You should read more. What they did to brown people, they did to their own poor. But knowledge is power is the bottom line.
Remember that.
Come on, my people, stand. Knowledge is power. Don't let them tell you by yourself. Never, that's the wrong. Knowledge is power. If you don't feed your man, how can they live in health? Don't let them tell you by yourself. Never, that's the wrong.